My name is Breonna. And at 18, I found out that my father was not my biological father. So I've been on a 10-year quest to find who this man is. And about 3 months ago, I found him. But
That's
yeah, like she was like,
crazy.
I know it's so weird
It is.
because y'all, I have not been emotional about this. I don't know why I'm crying right now, but even when I met him, I wasn't emotional. I don't know if it's like a defense mechanism. I don't know what it is.
Damn. That's crazy. Welcome everybody to the Introspect Room.
Welcome back, everybody. Damn, another episode.
We're here again.
We're here again.
Let's go.
My name is Jeff Damisse.
I am Michaelangelo Garland.
And this is the Introspect Room. The room where you can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling real good, man.
Especially, what was this, your fourth drink? What is this?
You gonna put me on the streets like that?
Listen, you're the bartender.
My second drink.
You're the bartender of this podcast. Every time we start one, he's like,
"Hey, you got to keep it lit, right? Keep it live."
All right, listen, I don't want to start getting like too tipsy on this podcast.
Oh no, I think we're just tipsy enough on most episodes. Yeah.
My mom's really gonna think I'm an alcoholic. I gotta make sure she doesn't listen to any of this.
For real, but how are you, man? What's new? What's going on in the life of Jeff?
What's going on in the life of Jeff? I'm pretty good, man. Family's good. I got a trip coming up. I got a bachelor party. I'm a best man to another wedding.
Nice. Same coming up. Well, not best man in this wedding, but bachelor party.
Yeah,
I'm leaving on Wednesday.
You leaving on Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't get my invite. That's a whole problem. But we're gonna talk about that later. No. My boy's getting married. And what's crazy is like he was supposed to get married last year, but the pandemic happened, right? Okay. So a lot of people are marrying.
Yeah, I feel like it to make a wrench in a lot of people's expected plans.
A lot of people didn't get their deposits. So yeah, exactly.
I have a couple friends who actually lost theirs, and
they lost the deposit, and they can't like even redeem it for another wedding.
Nah, and they're not happy about it.
You think?
Yeah, not happy about it at all. But also, there's like so many makeup weddings this year, right?
What does that mean?
Like all the weddings that would have been spread out over the course of like last year into this year are all happening now.
Oh yeah, of course.
In the back end of this year, so like,
of course,
there's like 5 weddings.
Yeah, there's probably a backlog of weddings right now. It's like there's a backlog of like
on my schedule. There's a backlog of weddings, as I'm sure yours.
Yeah. So getting ready for this bachelor thing. I want to make sure everybody behaves for what we're doing, but I don't know if that's possible. We're not gonna get into that. That's a little bit a little backstory. All right, I want to get into our guest because we discovered this particular individual, and her story is quite fascinating, and I want to learn a lot more about it. And you guys are going to really, really dive into it. This is someone who came upon quite a bit of a surprise in their life, and it's kind of a shocking one, to be honest with you. I was shocked when I heard the tidbits of this story, and we're going to dig into it.
The nature of surprises usually is that they're shocking. This one a little bit more so.
Yeah, exactly. So without further ado, I want to get into our guests, and we are very happy to introduce Breonna Stencil. How you doing? Welcome.
Breonna, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all
Doing
right.
very well.
Give us a quick introduction of yourself so everybody gets to know what's your story.
Okay. My name is Breonna. And at 18, I found out that my father was not my biological father. So I've been on a 10-year quest to find who this man is. And about 3 months ago, I found him.
That is wild to me.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Now I'm questioning, is my father my real father? No, our heads are shaped the same way. He's definitely my dad. Wait, so let me get this straight. So you were 18 years old when you found out that the person who's been raising you, the the man who's been raising you for 18 years is not your biological father.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. I kind of had a hunch though when I was like 12 or 13, but it was confirmed at 18 for sure.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like you to walk us through, how did you even find out? And then pivot to like what your journey was like in finding who your father was. How did you find out that your father is not your real father?
Okay, so when I was first of all, I've always been a very curious person. I always had a lot of questions. I always questioned everything in my life. And I really grew up in a very violent, drug-filled like way. So I just would do things to kind of occupy my time. And I just happened to look at my birth certificate when I was like 11 or 12. And I looked on there and it wasn't my dad's name. So I was like, that's weird. Like, why wouldn't my dad's name be there? I mean, it only makes sense. He's right here.
Wow.
But the guy on my birth certificate did have my last name on there. So I was really confused. So, you know, and at this time, my mom was, you know, on drugs. So anyway, I asked her, I'm like, what's going on? Like, why isn't my dad's name right there? And she made up the weirdest, most bizarre story. Like, that was my grandfather. And I really don't even know what she said. She said something very weird. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of dismissed
Just brushed it off.
She was like, that's your, I was just like, whatever, that doesn't make sense. So I didn't really care. She was like, that's your dad. Like, your dad's right there. Like, don't worry about it. So I just kind of let it go. And it kind of was always maybe in the back of my mind. I didn't never like, you know, care too much about it, but it was always in the back of my head. So, something just made me ask her when I was in high school, I guess because I felt like I was of age and I'm like, she don't have to lie to me at this point.
Right.
So we were just laying down in my bed and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, so about my dad, I'm like, my birth certificate. I'm like, that's really weird. I said, can you tell me the truth and just be honest with me? Like, I can handle it. Whatever it is, just tell me. I was like, is my dad my dad? And she said no. And I was like,
ooh. Straight out no. Like
I was like, okay. Yeah, she just was like, no. And I'm like, all right. And that kind of hit me a little bit.
Always
my
known.
Heart started.
She's always known that.
Yeah, I guess she's always
kept
known.
that from you
and
for
maybe that's
18 years.
Huh?
She kept that from you for 18 years. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what was shocking to me because I didn't expect her to be like that honest. I don't know. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I was
especially since at 12 she lied to you and just straight up.
Yeah.
It gave you the story so that
That's
She
crazy.
straight up lied. Yeah. She definitely avoided the whole conversation. That's what like, we're not getting into this. So when she said it, I was like, okay, well, cool. I'm like, well, who is he? And she was just like, I don't remember. And then that's when I got emotional and I started crying. So I'm like, he doesn't know I exist. And she was just like, no. And I'm like, okay. And then I was just crying. I just felt so like sad. Like I felt so empty. Like it was like an immediate feeling of like emptiness. Like a part of me was just missing. And the hardest part was that I couldn't really be mad at her because she was addicted to drugs. And I couldn't be mad at him because he doesn't know I'm here. And so I'm like, dang, I'm like, you don't remember his name. You don't remember, I mean, anything, nothing, what he looks like, where did you meet, anything. And she was like, I don't remember. And she was just like, I'm so sorry. You know, like I don't.
And at that point, did you believe her when she told you that she really didn't believe or didn't remember him?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I believed her.
Were you at all?
My mom is a very honest person.
Were you at all like mad at her for keeping this from you?
No, I was more sad that she didn't remember who he was. I could understand why she didn't say anything because if the answer was, yeah, that's not your dad, but I don't remember him, that would have done nothing for me at 12. I would probably be more devastated at 12 than at 18. So I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
So it was cool. But what hurt me was the fact that this guy, whatever you were doing back then, you don't even know enough to allow me to know who he is or for him to know who I am.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about my life and how it could have been different. And I just started going down this whole spiral in my head, but I didn't want to make her feel bad. So
did you ask her straight away, like, hey, did he know that you had me? Right? Like, because maybe she got pregnant, he just didn't know. I don't know what goes through I don't know what would go through my mind in that point. So like, where was your head?
I wanted answers. Yeah, like the first thought in my mind was, who is he? The second thought in my mind, when she said, I don't know who he is, I just, I asked every question I guess you could think of to maybe jog her memory. Where did you meet? She had but at this time, she had no answers for me. Nothing. The only thing that she could say was that, I'm sorry. I wish I knew more. I was messed up. I was on drugs. Like, I feel terrible, and I was just like, all right, all I could do was cry. Honestly, all I could do was cry in that moment. I just was like, great. Like, there's crazy. A hole there. Yeah. So I was very, very sad.
Wait, okay. So your mom grew up where?
Chicago.
She grew up in Chicago.
She grew up in Chicago. Yes. Okay. And she's an identical twin.
She's an identical twin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So this might be a dumb question, but growing up in Chicago at the time that your mom was a young adult, did her twin also experience the same, conflict of life, like drug abuse and so on and so forth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the reason my mom started was because of my auntie.
Really?
They were so close. Yeah, they were so close. And when my auntie started using, my mom didn't really understand. I don't know if she really understood like the magnitude of that drug or what was going on. And my mom wanted to be with my aunt, like she wanted to figure out what was taking her away, like what was going on, was so important that I don't see you a lot or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And the story that she told me, they were using that. My auntie was using, and my mom wanted to try it. My auntie was like, no, you can't, like, no, whatever. My mom insisted. My auntie let her, and she did what she did. Yeah. And
what was the drug? What was the drug?
It was crack cocaine.
And this was back in the 80s?
Man. Yeah, this is back in the 80s.
Yeah,
yep.
In the 80s too. Was
heavy. Yeah, that was
heavy in the 80s. So many like lives were ruined in the 80s that brought up
in our neighborhoods too. That's
craziness.
It's the craziness, man.
Okay, so you find out at the age of 18 that your dad, who was raising you for what was your relationship like, or what is your relationship with the father that raised you?
That's a good question.
So he does not know that I know that he's not my biological father, and I do not plan on telling him that I'm not my biological father. Yeah, to the day I've not talked to him about it.
That's wild.
Yeah, no.
That is wild.
Wow. Okay.
No, I won't do it. Yeah, I won't do it. I don't know what his
your relationship is good then. You guys have a good relationship.
Yeah, we have a good relationship. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, like my childhood is
that's really crazy.
I hope he never sees it. I hope no one in the family shows him that. But I grew up, like I said, very chaotic, very, very chaotic. And the one thing that I've always loved my dad for is that he did not have to raise me or take me. I mean, my mom met him when I was 5 months or something, and he immediately was like, I want her. I want to raise her. And she's like, I don't need you. She doesn't need a dad. And he's like, no, I want to take her. And I mean, had he not, I don't know what kind of life I would have. I mean, it was still very crazy, but he added that stability there that, I couldn't be taken away, or, child services couldn't get involved, because he was always very solid. So he is definitely my superhero. And, I adore him. I'm so thankful that he chose to love me. So, I don't
having that support in your life, I feel, and I don't know, you tell me, are you afraid that it might hurt him if he finds out that you're looking for...
I think I don't want to cry because, no, I'm not going to do that. But I think if I ever did get emotional, that would be the reason why, is because I don't want to hurt him. I don't know. And I don't know if he necessarily would be hurt. I don't know.
That was my next question. I was like, especially hearing you talk about how supportive he's been of you, he might actually try to help you in your search,
Well, my dad is also very, very old, guys. My dad is old. He's like the Morgan Freeman of like my life. I feel like he never gonna die. Like when I was young, he was old. I'm older now. He's still old. He's just old. He's well into his 80s.
Oh, wow.
So to me, okay. My dad is well into his 80s. So, you know, he's having his own issues and stuff like that. And I just want him to pass knowing that I am his daughter. There is no one else, you know, because no one's going to replace him, and just let him live his life. Now, I have other siblings, and I have told my siblings, and I did, you know, get very, very emotional. I'm like, nothing changes. I can still, you know, like your sister or whatever. And they were like, you're fine. Nothing changes. We're happy for you. So I know that, you know,
Wait, I'm confused. Hold on, I'm confused. I need to ask two things, right? First off, so you're also saying the father who raised you had always known that he wasn't the biological father. Yeah, so he too was lying to you for 18 years. Or right now, 27 years.
Not necessarily
not
lying,
just, protecting.
Yeah.
Protecting,
I think.
By lying.
Sure. Are we going to get into semantics?
I never asked.
You're getting into semantics. I'm getting into the facts. Basically, his way of protecting you was lying to you about who your real father was. Right?
Well,
it's not a lie if he didn't.
No,
she never asked him straight up. Exactly.
Yeah, I never asked him ever. I've never brought it up to him, never asked him. He just, yeah.
So you mean to tell me, Mike, if you're raising a child for even till the child is 27 years old, you're saying, hey, daughter, I'm doing this for you. Daughter, I'm doing this, that, and the third. You don't think not one time telling that person her story and how she came to be is not lying? That's not lying?
I personally don't think that it's lying.
Yeah.
If Breonna was to ask him straight up, are you my father? Like, tell me about my birth.
No,
something like that, and he lied about that, then it would be a lie. But like, until you're put on the spot, I don't think necessarily that it's considered a lie, especially in this situation, right? There's nuance to lying. Of course, like if you're in a relationship and you're holding back information from a person that could like maybe impact them directly.
But
that's
also
lying.
too, though, y'all. Also too, no one ever thought we would find this guy. This is not something where it's like, oh, like, you know, one day she might be able to. My mom knew nothing, could not, you know. So I think it was one of those things like you're probably never going to meet him in this life. Exactly.
Yeah, but I would imagine some point in your relationship as you were growing up, there were things that came up that only a biological father can really engage with you.
Like what?
No, hear me out. There's probably something in conversation where he probably just said yeah to.
Like what? Give
I
us
don't
an
know.
Example.
Okay, let's say for instance, right? When mommy, daddy, when you and mom had me, what blah blah, something came up in conversation where he probably just in passing was just like, yeah.
Well, let me say this. There were moments where I'm like, I look like you. And I'll be like, I have freckles. He's like, yeah, me too. And I was like, oh, I have, you know, this, whatever. And he'll be like, me too. You know, and he would, because we actually do kind of look similar. So, I mean, there were moments where he would validate me in that.
Jeff, it doesn't matter.
Oh, my God.
Because, Breonna, do you feel like you were lied to?
No, I
then
don't.
That's all that. Then that's all. Literally all that matters.
Listen, whether she felt like she was lied to or not.
Oh man,
I'm just saying. Okay. How about this? This is just gonna be a random side curve, right?
Speaking of drinks, Breonna.
No, stop. Right. Let's say.
Go ahead.
Let's say I'm a twin.
Okay.
And my twin.
Right.
Is in a relationship.
This is not the same.
No, my twin is in a relationship.
Okay.
My twin dies.
Mm-hmm.
His girlfriend doesn't know about it. I step in. Mind you, that she never met me. I step in, right? And somehow I hold on, hear me out. Hear me out. And then my twin my twin dies, and I decide to step in, right? And then his partner, his woman, doesn't know I exist, and I step in. Somehow I mimic him, and I build a relationship with this person, and they accept that truth that I'm the person that they've been in a relationship with in whatever way, right? And then they never ask. They might see certain things might be off, but they never ask. And then I step in and be in that relationship. Let's say that relationship was only like maybe 2 months, right? And then I step in, I was able to whatever, right? And then I continue on with that relationship. She never asked. And to protect her feelings, I stepped in the relationship. Am I lying?
Well, you would know would have been better. A better example would have been maybe if your twin had a kid with him, and then maybe the baby was born, and then you stepped in maybe as a father and
took care of the kid.
Grew up with the and took care of the kid.
Sure.
Again, it would come down to what does the kid think?
Yeah.
Do they feel lied to?
So we're just saying lies are only lies if you believe it's a lie.
See, you're one of those kind of people that believe you don't tell if you don't say something. It's like if you don't admit something, then you're lying.
Who's saying that to him?
No, to you. Because I mean, it's like you're one of those people. It's like, well, if you didn't tell me, that's still a lie. It's like, well, yeah, I didn't tell you, but you also didn't ask. Well, you should have told me though, because so now it's like you're lying. That's technically.
And again, there's nuance. There's nuance to it, right? Like in this situation. In this situation, you can make anything black and white if you want to, but there's always, in reality, there's nuance and gray.
And by no means am I painting the person who raised you in a bad light. I'm just looking at the lengths that he went through to protect you, and think about and you might not ever get to have that conversation because you don't want to talk about the fact that you found out who your real father is. But think about the things he might have had to do in order to protect you. How many things he had to pivot around.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that Breonna is lying to him? Because she knows, and she hasn't shared with him to protect him.
Yeah.
Do I think she's lying to him?
I'll be on call our guest a liar.
It is what it is. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm not saying she's lying to him. I'm not saying she's lying to him, but I think to live a life and not admitting something that is that big is at the very least living the life of a lie. Right? Because we're going to get into how you found your father, right? But she now knows who her father is, right? So she's going to hang out with her real father. But guess what? She's never going to mention it like, oh, how was your day? Where you been? How was your weekend? And she's going to leave a lot of things out that most people, I would imagine, because you don't like me using generalization, would say this is a whole lie, right? Like if I was in a relationship and the whole relationship for 20 years, I've had a mistress. Uh-huh. But if my woman doesn't know, that means I never lied to her? That means my life wasn't a lie?
Like I said, there's nuance.
You killing me.
In this particular instance, they're trying to protect each other in a good way, not like hiding any of their own insecurities or things that this is strictly to ensure that nobody is. And I think in your case, you're probably overthinking it. So I don't think your dad wouldn't be hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
I get what you're saying. You're putting a black and white label on this.
All right, I'm the black and white guy.
It's just not a black and white situation. It's not.
That's fine.
Would you call like hiding a mistress parallel to protecting a child's feelings?
You could be protecting your wife's feelings from your own urges, and vice versa.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying, like, people have multiple reasons for omitting something, but if you're living here's the thing: if you don't ask something, I get it. Yeah, it's not a lie because you didn't ask.
Right.
But if you go through your entire life living as if, that by itself is the lie, not what you're omitting, is the posturing that you're doing. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like if I decide to wear a police officer's outfit and I run around, hitting sirens, nobody asks me if I'm a cop or not, but am I lying? You see what I'm saying?
I get it. And there's nuance.
I get it.
I guess you have to ask a follow-up question to that. Like, to what end? Like, why are you doing it? What is the reason that you're telling the lie? I'm not saying the person who raised her is a bad person. Oh, no, I know you're not.
And I think he's a great person for what he did, because to be honest with you, she's in a better place because of it.
Of course.
But it all sourced from living the life, if you don't like the word, of a lie. her mother lived a life. Well, I don't want to say of a lie because she didn't know a lot of things, but she at least knew that you weren't that wasn't your father. But I want to get into how you found your dad because I don't want to deviate from your story. I think it's a powerful story.
Yeah,
but
and at the end of the day, you don't feel lied to, and
you should.
You're trying to protect your father, so you're not lying to him either. He's not lying to you. You're not lying to him.
In whatever capacity, I don't want to take away from your story. We're just showing you how passionate we are about your story and how much emotion it draws because I'm trying to link it to what I would feel like and see if any of that resonated with you and how you felt the whole time, right? Did you ever feel that way about the person that raised you? That they lied to you? Okay. And that's fine.
Let's take it one step further though. This actually plays more to your point because I see what you're saying and I want to disagree with it. Even though I know that in terms of objectivity, you're not wrong. You're actually not wrong.
And you're not wrong either.
Because life is nuanced. Everything is subjective in life, right? Like how you are experiencing even this light, it could be different than me, right?
Sure.
My question for you, Breonna, was did you ever feel like, as an adult, because as a kid, you already mentioned that you felt like, what's going on here? This doesn't make sense. You were confused about it, right? Did you, at any point during your search or after your mom told you, feel like your mom was lying to you?
I never thought, lying to me is just a very, it's a harsh word. And I think the way that I grew up with having to have a lot of understanding and compassion and being very selfless in my feelings and how I react to especially addicts and just different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I chose not to focus much on, oh, she hid this from me. It was more or less being grateful that she had the courage to be honest with me finally.
Yeah.
So I'm, and that's just kind of my personality type anyway. I don't necessarily focus on, the bad or, the negative part of it because it's not going to change anything. I'm very much like, it is what it is. Me being upset or mad about it is not going to change the fact that we don't know anything. So how can we fix that part? No, I never felt like she lied to me. I never got down on her about it. It was fine.
You know what? And you know what? And I don't want to speak for Michaelangelo, but we commend you for having that state of mind because there are some people who might look at it very negatively, and you took the route of being compassionate and understanding. And I think a lot of people might not be able to take that. So I think
absolutely,
that's a very commendable position to be in. So
thank you. Yeah.
Walk us through the process of finding your real biological father. Walk us through how you came to that.
So let me just say that, growing up, I, always felt very different. I grew up with my little, so there's 4 kids that my mother had. My oldest sister.
With the same guy?
No, these were all different. Now we realize these are all different people, right? So my oldest sister was first. This is right after my mom got addicted. I'm sorry. My sister was born right before she got addicted to drugs. Then she had my other sister, and she actually put her up for adoption. And then she had me and was going to put me up for adoption and changed her mind. And then she had my brother with my dad, who I grew up with. So me and my brother used to think that we were fully, that was my brother. I never thought anything else about it. What's interesting, though, is that my brother always gravitated to my dad. And I did too, but my brother really did, even with his family. And, he just connected with them in a way that I didn't. Like when I think back, to like meeting with his family and stuff, I always felt they were very nice to me. They never treated me any different. Let me just put that out there. Never, ever, ever. Right. But I think when it's family, it just feels different. Like when I was with my mom's family, I felt this different type of connection. And then when I was in my dad's family, it felt like I wanted to feel it really bad, but I didn't. It was just like, whatever.
And you've always known this, or you're reflecting back?
This is me as a kid. I mean, even as a kid, I was aware. I mean, but as a little kid, you're not connecting all those dots. I'm just whatever. And then as I was getting older, my connection with my dad it always felt like it wasn't the same as my mom. My dad used to be pissed. Like my dad used to be so angry because I was so attached to my mom. I mean, to the point where I would be physically sick when she would leave for weeks at a time. Like I just loved her so much. And he was like, why? Like what? You know, she don't even da. But that was my mom and I felt it. And even though he was my dad and I loved him too, it was such a different feeling. So I say all that to say that, you know, like growing up, I never looked exactly like my mom, you know, and I wanted to, I guess,
You didn't
look
look like
my
your
dad.
mom?
And then I mean, y'all saw my mom. I don't feel like I look just like her. You know, like my brother looks a lot like her. My other siblings, I think, look a lot like her. And I didn't. So I didn't grow up with my other two siblings, but when I did start to get connected with them, I would look at them and I'm like, dang, you know, people were always kind of like, oh, they look just like their mom. And, you know, that comment all the time, like, oh, you look just like her. And I never really got that. And so eventually it did start to bother me a little bit. And it started to, I don't know, it made me feel like I didn't belong, I guess. It made me feel like, you know, I'm different. Even my hair texture is different than my siblings. And, you know, I used to just little things I would try to.
You felt like
an
outcast?
I didn't feel like an outcast necessarily, but I didn't feel like I looked just like her. I felt like I looked different. I looked like my mom.
But every sibling came from a different father.
Yes.
So
if you see all of us together.
Would you say they all felt the same way then?
No, because even though we all came from different people, even if you seen all my siblings, you wouldn't be like, oh, you definitely don't look like them. No, I looked similar-ish to them. But some of them look like my sister and my brother. They look so much alike. People give them,
even though they don't have the same father.
Or you look just like your mom.
Even though they don't have.
Even though they don't. My mom's genes are very, very strong.
Right.
But my sister,
but not within
even
you.
if we all don't look exactly. Huh?
But not within you. They're not
strong. Within me. Yeah, I mean, I would get it. I get it very sparingly. Very sparingly. You might say, oh, okay, I see it. Like, oh, you know, if you tilt your head this way, like I see the features. But with them, it was always like, that's Kyle, you know, that's Kyla's daughter. Like, that's her son. Oh, yeah. So I would, and when we kind of all began to come together more, I was like, dang, okay. And so then the joke in the family would be, man, you must look just like your daddy. You know, like you gotta look just like him because, you know, and so I'm like, damn. So I was thinking, I'm like, well, what can I do to find this guy? Because I'm like, I just know that he's somewhere. Like, what if he's still alive? So what I did, I kind of gave up on my biological father. I said, well, let me find the guy on my birth certificate. If I can't find him, then maybe I could just find the guy on my birth certificate. So I went on Facebook and how did you know, found this.
Wait, how did you know? How did you know the guy in your birth certificate wasn't the guy you should be looking for as your father?
Because I asked my mom. Yeah, like, so when we had that whole coming to Jesus and whatever, I said, well, who's the guy on my birth certificate? And she said, oh, well, you know, you were about to be adopted and, you know, I gave them to you and, you know, he signed the birth certificate. And she was like, you know, she said, I just, you know, I just gave my other daughter up for adoption. And she said, I couldn't do it. She said, I wanted my baby. And so she said, I went back and I changed my mind. And she was just like, I wanted you. And she said, I thought I was going to get clean. She's like, I took you with me to the treatment facility. And I just, you know, I asked for help. She said, I called every treatment facility in Chicago because I wanted to get better and I wanted to keep you. So she took me back and she never changed my name. So I was like, damn, okay. I mean, sorry for cursing. I'm like, dang, okay. So, yeah, so I was like, well, let me find him. I went on Facebook and there was this group called the Stansel Family or some weird thing like that. And I posted on the wall. I said, hey, I'm like, you know, I'm looking for so-and-so Stansel. He's on my birth certificate. Does anybody know who he is? And I got a flood of comments and I found him very quickly.
Really?
And they was like, unfortunately, yeah, I found him very quick. So I was really happy. But then I found out he died. So I was like, great. So I'm like, dang, you know, at least I could have had a piece of when I was a baby. Like, what was that like? Or, you know, because I heard that this man, he was devastated. Like when my mom wanted me back, he drove me in the car for hours. Like he was just like, please, like, you know, I would let you see her every day. Like, I mean, please, like we'll, you know, take care of her, like whatever. He was trying to beg and plead for me to stay and she just would not let me keep him. So I thought that would be a close second. So anyway, after that, a couple years later, I was like, what else? I said, well, I want to know my nationality. I was like, at least I can know if I'm mixed or whatever. I said, and then that way I can compare my mom's DNA and whatever is not in her DNA, it'll be my dad. So I was like, I could just do that. So I decided to get on Ancestry. And mind you, my siblings thought I was a fool. They was like, girl, girl, you are not gonna find nobody on Answers, but go off if that's what you want to do. I said, that's what I'm doing. And when y'all see what I mix with and like, I'm gonna know where I come from, because I wanted to know where I came from. I wanted to know something. Like, I need to know what made me who I am. If I don't know the name, at least I have something.
You wanted to find You wanted to find the missing pieces of your identity.
Right. So that
that
was the drive. That was the main driver then, right? Would you say that was the main driver? You really just wanted to know what you are, not even more.
Yeah,
do you think you wanted to know more about who you, like, what you are, than who your father was?
What I am.
Huh.
Yeah, because my expectation was so low. And I think that might be like a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism. I just didn't even, I'm like, if something comes of it, great. I'm like, but if it doesn't, at least I got this. At least I know my DNA. At least if someone say, well, what are you? I can say, well, I'm this. And that made me feel better about myself.
Right.
So
that's something I take for granted.
Yeah. You know, I was searching for something to make me feel better about myself. So I did it. And I found out what I was. I was really emotional, and Ancestry started flooding me with like all these cousins. I had like 800, like, I don't know, over 100, 200 cousins. And I'm like, dude, I can't be related to all these people. This is stupid. I'm like, this is probably not even accurate. Like, I was very much over it. I really thought that I was going to find this
how did they round up those 800 cousins? Was that like through DNA? Through name records?
I'm being dramatic, but yeah, it was through DNA. It's through DNA.
So you submit, because
I've never done one of those either, and I'm still on the fence about whether or not I ever would. But like, how did you land on that specific one on Ancestry? Because there are other ones, right?
Just because it was on TV. Yeah, it was like the first thing I thought
good
about.
Advertising.
Like,
shout out to Ancestry.
Yeah.
Wait, so how do you submit DNA, if you don't mind me asking? Is it like swab?
Oh yeah. So once you purchase the kit, they send you this tube. You have to spit in the tube, and then you send it off to the lab, I guess, and they run your DNA.
But
it's absolutely insane.
But when they because now I'm fascinated about this whole process, because wouldn't they also need the DNA of all the 800 cousins that popped up?
Yeah, so whoever's in the database is the people that did the test. So that's the other part. Like, in my mind, I'm like, what are the odds that...
I've had many questions about this.
Yeah, what are the odds that my dad would do it? Or any part of his family? Like, what are the odds of that?
Your dad did?
No.
All right, so walk us through it. I need the story.
Yeah, keep going through how you ended up finding it. Keep going.
Yeah,
there's a lot here.
So, yeah, I'm super excited. I'm like, oh my God, I have all these cousins or whatever. And I'm like, let me start at the top. So the way Ancestry works is once you get your tree or your matches, the people that have the most DNA are at the top, and then it kind of trickles down at the bottom. So I was looking through and I saw some familiar faces, and I'm like, okay, this must be right, because I know I'm related to this person. I'm related to that person. So I started to message the top, maybe, I don't know, 6 people that were in my matches. And I had the same message. Hey, my name is Breonna. I'm looking for my biological father. If you have any information, please let me know. I would love to connect. To everybody that I thought would be remotely close to this person. I got some messages back, but I didn't really consider that I don't know anybody. Like, I didn't know any information on my dad. So even if they did tell me something, I would know what the heck they were talking about. So, you know, people were very involved. They were trying to help me find them, and they were naming these names and surnames and maiden names. And I'm like, all I know is my mom's last name and maybe one other person. I don't know anybody else.
Right.
So it kind of became discouraging, honestly. So after maybe a few months or so, I was just like, whatever, like, I'm probably not going to find them. I don't care. And funny enough, in 2019, I got a message from one of my cousins, and she said, hey, she said, we are really close related. She said, I think you're related to my Edinburgh side. Edinburgh. I'm like, I don't know anybody named Edinburgh. I asked my mom, I'm like, do you know somebody with the Edinburgh last name? And I'm still only thinking about my mom's side of the family. It didn't dawn on me that it could possibly be, I don't know, someone else like my father. So I just kind of dismissed it. I'm like, girl, I have no idea. Like, I can't connect you to anybody with that last name on mom's side. And I think everybody that I was connecting with was like, maybe it's your mom, it's your mom, it's your mom. And I didn't really realize, like, I don't know any information on this man. So she was like, well, I'm going to figure it out, because I know that we are closely related somehow. And she's like, I'll get back with you. And she and I did not talk for 2 years. Okay, like, we just
didn't talk for 2
the whole
years?
conversation. Me and my cousin, the girl that I now know is my cousin. After we kind of had that, hey, do you know? We just kind of let it go. But she knew, and I did not know. I was still very ignorant. So from 2019 to 2021, I would periodically, maybe every 4 or 5 months or something, check my ancestry. Like if I got a DNA update, because they would update my DNA, and that was it. So then by like 2021, I was like, you know what? I'll just check the messages. I'm like, if I get a new message, I'll check that, and I might, banter with somebody. So I did that, and in March, I checked Ancestry, and I finally saw this thing that said close match. Now, my whole 4 years or Ancestry, I never got a close match. It said close family. That's what it said, close family.
And that was March of this year or last year?
Yes, of 2021.
2021.
Okay. And so, yes. And I was like, oh, crap. Because everything says first cousin, second cousin, third cousin. And this one was like right at the top of everyone, like close family.
This your daddy.
Right. I was like, say that. Yeah. I was like, hold on. So I Googled it, because I was like, what does close family mean on Ancestry? And they were like, this could mean this person is a half sibling or aunt or uncle. So I was like, oh. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, let me message her. So I messaged her, but she already messaged me. Yeah, she messaged me, and she was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. She's like, and I think we might be cousins. She was like, email me so that we can talk more about how we're related. And I was like, oh no, sis, like, we not cousins. Like, I was like, you're my sister. I'm like, she's my sister. It makes total sense. I was like, hey, I looked on Google, and it says that you have to be a half sibling. I was like, so I'm like, I think you might be my sister, or maybe you're my auntie or something. And she was like, well, she said, I'm a little old to be your sister. She was like, but maybe I'm your auntie. She's like, I have some brothers. She said, what do you know about your dad? And y'all, mind you, like, I used to ask my mom every year from the time I found out that he wasn't my dad up until now. Yeah. I'm like, what do you remember about my dad? Right. Every year, I'm like, what do you remember? I know you remember something. And every year she'd be like, I think maybe, whatever. So this year I was like, Mom, tell me what you remember. You got to remember something. And she was like, okay. She was like, I remember. She was like, he was a fireman, and he was a police officer, and we met on this block. He was this tall. He was this skin color.
Wait, what?
And,
she knows. She said she didn't remember anything. She went from not remembering anything to she was telling you.
That's enough to file a police report at least.
What? Because and the thing is,
people find people with less information.
Before I matched with my aunt, she kind of called me her room one day, was like, you know what? I think I remember some stuff about your dad. And I couldn't remember all the stuff. So yeah, she remembered a whole lot of stuff. So I think that was me, just being nosy. I kept asking her. So I gave this woman the description. I'm like, I don't know his name. I don't know his birthday. I don't know anything. I said, this is all that I know. She said, okay. She said, give me a couple days and I'll get back with you. In about 48 hours exactly, she texted me and she said, my brother remembered your mom. And I was like, I'm gonna cry. Oh my God. Because I was just so shocked. Oh my God. I was just so like, huh? But yeah, like she was like, I know it's so weird because y'all, I have not been emotional about this. I don't know why I'm crying right now, but even when I met him, I wasn't emotional. I don't know if it's like a defense mechanism. I don't know what it is. But anyway, she was like, yeah, my brother remembers your mom. And I was like, stop. I'm like, no. She was like, I'm serious. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like, you don't even know anything. So he was like, yep, he remembers your mom's a twin. She remembers, what she looked like, how tall she. I mean, he knew more than my mom did. So I was like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God. Like I found him. I'm freaking out.
So what did you do? What did you do right after as soon as you found out, like the shock, the awe, like all the crazy emotions pour over you? What do you do?
I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I think I found my dad. Because I was just like, oh my God. And I'm like, this isn't real. And then I just was in shock. I just sat there and I told my mom, and my mom was like, she was like, for real? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, okay. She's like, well, what do we do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm just going to talk to her and like, see what she says. And she said, she's like, I showed him a picture of you. And he said that he knows that you're his daughter. He said that you look just like his other daughters. And he was like, he knows that, his daughter. Now, mind you, my mom told me that she did try to tell him that she was pregnant, and he didn't believe her. I don't know if he just didn't believe her, but he also said, like, I can't have kids. And so I told her that. I said, well, my mom said that he told her that he can't have kids, that he had a vasectomy. She said, yeah, I told him that. He said that sounded like something he would say. I said, okay, so he's a little bit low.
So now,
wait,
yeah, like,
hold on.
So now your mom. Oh man.
No, my mom, because
This
my
gets
mom
deep.
thought she was crazy.
This is.
Wait, so your dad had other daughters before or after you?
No, you would have been his first.
Before.
Oh, he had before.
Yeah, before. Oh yeah, I have about
before. Okay.
I don't know, maybe 8 or more siblings. Yeah.
But then your dad said he had a vasectomy?
Now, keep in mind, when I was conceived, he was married and he had my sister, my other sister, right before me. She was like, what, 3 or something? And my mom was saying like, oh, well, he's pretty established. Like he was married. So he was not trying to blow up the spot. I think that's more or less what it was. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he fed your mom some stuff.
Lies?
Yeah.
We're going to call them. Yeah, these are lies.
Definitely some lies. Now we can't call him a liar.
These ones are lies.
That was a lie.
There's no gray on this
for
one.
sure.
This entire, whether you choose to believe it or not, this entire series of events built around lies. But that's just me. But again,
some lies with good intentions, some lies are not.
And I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. That I believe wholeheartedly, because sometimes you have to lie in order to achieve the greater good. Right. But not all lies are built are equal. They're not. Exactly.
That was the point.
That's the title of a movie. Not all lies are equal.
Nah. That might be the title of the show.
We're gonna get there. Okay. So walk us through. So now you met this person who knew little nuances about your mom, right? And what is it about that made you emotional?
Well, I hadn't spoke to him, and at that time I didn't speak with him, so I didn't know. I just I don't know. Again, like my expectations for all of this was very, very, very low. Mm-hmm. At most, I wanted to maybe see a picture of this man. Mm-hmm. At most, maybe know his name, and just see what he looked like. So it took me a minute to realize, like, oh, like he's alive. I'm gonna get a lot more than what I thought I was gonna get. Right. I mean, and it was like, dang, like this is my dad. Like this is the person that made me. Like he is the person that I've been looking for. Like now I can see the things I didn't get from my mom. Like now I can see, where I get it from, or how is he living? What is he like? What is his personality like? What does he do? And just everything. I was pretty numb though. I think it was just me processing that I found him. Yeah. It was like, you found him. Like, girl, you did not think you were ever going to see this man, know him at all. And now you did. Like, what the heck? And I just sat with it. And I'm like, now, just because he said that I'm his daughter, I did not believe. I'm like, okay. I'm like, maybe. I'm like, we're going to need another DNA test. Right. We have to run this back.
We don't need another
I got to make sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
we not going to be too excited because keep in mind, she had other brothers and stuff now. Yeah. So, my aunt, though, I think believed that I was related anyway. She started sending me loads of pictures and adding me to the family group text. So I'm all
family group text already.
Oh wow, they threw
you got a new family in like 3 minutes.
Group text. No, wait. No, right. It wasn't a big family group text. It was her, my cousin, my sister, my brother, and something like that. So it was small enough, but she was like, "Here is the tea. This is your aunt. This is your brother. This is your sister. This is your cousin, your niece, your she had descriptions for everything, and she, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, and I'm like,
thorough aunt.
I'm like,
we all have that thorough aunt.
Listen, my auntie is the MVP. When I say she got receipts, she got everybody, every
going
single
back
person
to 1983. She has
man, I'm telling you, everything that any question I ever could have asked, she had answers for it. So then I see a picture of my dad, and homeboy is brown skin. Like y'all see how light I am. My mom, honestly, my mom is your color, Jeff, and really, I think they both around your color. Might be maybe a shade darker. Stop looking at him, and I'm like, I don't know about this. I'm like, he's brown.
Yo, like, you might need a DNA test on your mom at this point.
Looking at her, I'm like, sis. Do you know he brown skin? I'm like, I'm confused. I just knew he had to be light skin. or white or something. Cause I'm like, how did I get
like,
this
your
light?
daddy
This
is
super
Trevor
weird.
Noah. Only way down. But go on.
No, seriously. So yeah, I had a lot of I caught up a lot. My auntie got me up to speed very quickly, and I realized that I had a sister who was 3 years older than me, who lived literally like not even an hour away from me. And she was like, okay, here's her number. Y'all need to talk. Like, so I'm meeting sisters and all this stuff. And I'm just like so excited. I'm like, yes. And then finally we get to the part where I need to talk to my dad. I'm like, wow, I get to hear his voice. And she gave me his number. And, you know, he was like, he's waiting for you. You know, you can call him when you're ready. And I called him, and I was emotional. I like started hyperventilating before I called him, because I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, when? And so when I called him, he was very calm. And he said, hey, you know, I heard a lot about you. And I just started sobbing on the phone. And I'm just like, oh my God, I heard his voice. Like, dang, like that's crazy to me. Like, I was just blown away. And he was just like, you know, he said, I'm your father. He's like, no, he didn't say I'm your father. He said, I'm your daddy. He said, nothing is your fault. And he was like, you know, I'm here for you. And he's like, it's okay. He said, I know you've been through a lot. He was like, but, you know, I want to move forward, and I want to, you know, do whatever it is you need me to do. And I said, okay. I said, well, I want a DNA test. And he was like, okay. He was like, I know you're my daughter. He was like, but for you, he's like, I'll do it. He's like, no problem. I'll pay for it, whatever you need. So we did the DNA test, and we waited and waited and waited. And then I finally got the results, and it was 99.99%. And I was just like,
this is
crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. It was
walk me through your state of mind when you heard his voice. Right?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I was shocked. I don't want to cry. Why are y'all trying to make me cry? That is very much not the plan for today. I do not.
Why did this man say it like that, though? He tilted his head. He was like,
no, but
right.
No, but
exactly. Like,
no, but it's
trying to
got real.
No.
You got real serious.
No, because to me, those are the things that I'm thinking about, right? Because sometimes when you're tied to something, you've gone through a journey of seeking out an answer that was very important to you.
Yeah.
And you basically are opening the door to that answer.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side of that door is a voice. That's all you're getting at that moment. Right? Whether you had the DNA test or not. Yeah. Like, I just want to understand what was going through your mind when you heard his voice.
Comfort, I think. Yeah.
Even before the DNA test, though, you still were not, like, going into that call, you weren't kind of like skeptical.
Yeah. When I spoke to him, I wasn't skeptical. I was anxious. I didn't know what to expect. Like, I'm telling y'all, my expectations, even at that point, were low. I did not want to be disappointed. I didn't know what he was going to say. I didn't know if he was going to think it was a joke, if he was going to be like, girl, I want to beat you. Like, I didn't let any of those thoughts go into my mind. I just wanted to embrace whatever it was that I was going to get in that moment. And his voice was so sure. He didn't have his voice didn't waver. He didn't sound nervous. He didn't sound unsure. He was like, hello, hi, I am your daddy. You are my daughter. I know it for sure. You know, like, there's nothing that you can say. Like, I know you're my daughter.
That's why.
And I'm like,
Breonna, how did you reconcile, right? Because I'm sure at some point you end up talking to him about everything your mom didn't remember. Like, how do you reconcile the limited amount of things that she told you about him and, like, the actual person now? Like, the story coming from him directly. Like, how did...
Well, let me just say that my dad is not an emotional person. He a little gangster. Like, he definitely like a gangster that turned his life around. Okay, so y'all got to understand it. He talk in like code or it was real funny, I guess, talking to him, because I'm like, all right, I already know what I'm probably gonna get from him. His version of the story was very much like, you know, I saw your mom. I thought she was beautiful. You know, I wanted to see her every day. I wanted to talk to her every day. And he was like, you know, one day I went looking for her and I couldn't find her. He said, I was looking up and down, wherever, I could not find where she was. And I guess he just kind of gave up on the idea of looking for him. My mom said kind of the same thing. And he was just like, I had no idea that you were here. He's like, I did not know. He said, had I known, I would have came for you. I would have sent for you, basically. He said, but I did it. And he was like, I don't want to focus so much on the past and like all of the sad things and all the stuff you've been through. He said, I want to use the time that I have and just, allow you to get to know me and who I am. Because he's 62 or something like that.
Right.
So he's like, I want to just focus on that. I want you to come out here. I want to meet you. And I want to, he said, whatever you need, I got you. Whatever your mom needs, I got you.
I love that. Wow.
But let me ask you a question though. Like when he said that, I know I'm your father, right? Mm-hmm. Did any of that resonate some form of security for you in knowing that someone was so sure? Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It made me feel whole. It did. It made me feel whole.
And was that the emotional part?
It made me feel like
you were able to take a break?
No, because I didn't expect anything from him. I didn't expect nothing more than a conversation. If I only said, hey, hi, how are you? Oh my God, you're my dad. Mm-hmm. And we didn't talk again, I probably would have been okay. I would have been like, that's what I needed. Right. Someone acknowledged that this is who I am. I see what his face looks like. Cool. Thank you so much. That's it. So him wanting to know who I am and him wanting to be a part of my life, that was where I'm like, dang, so he did want me. Because those thoughts come through your head, over the years. I'm like, I wonder if he wanted me, or if he would be proud of who I am and what I'm doing, or if I look like him, or if, whatever. I had those thoughts. I'm like, oh, what if he don't care? What if I met him? He was like, girl, what? I don't know you. So you kind of have those thoughts. So when the response was so positive, I felt loved. I felt wanted. I think,
So that brings me to my other question. Like, so since you were 18 up until 27 and you not knowing who your real father was, did a part of you feel not wanted?
No, the only reason why is because I had the idea that he did not know I existed. Exactly. So how can you be
and you had a strong father figure
at someone like that?
Yeah, and you had a strong father figure.
Right. In the house. My dad, exactly. Yeah. So I didn't feel unwanted. No.
That's good.
I just felt like, dang, I wish he knew I was here. Like, I'm like, man, what if we got some money or something? Like, what if I be living good? Like, I'm for real.
Let's go. That is amazing.
Like, man,
I love that.
He probably would have had me set up. Yeah. Like that's what I used to be thinking about. I'm serious. Like, those, because it was a struggle growing up. Mm-hmm. Like I never went without ish, but it was hard. I grew up in a very, very, very toxic environment that I wish that I didn't. Honestly, I'm grateful that I did, but I wish that I didn't. And those thoughts it's just like, if one thing could have went different, I always think like, man, if my mom just didn't do that, where would we have been? Because I knew the kind of person she was when she was clean and what she was doing even before she got addicted. If she didn't do that, what would have happened? Or if my dad knew that I was here, how would my life have been? Right. So you kind of have those moments and you live in those fantasies to make yourself feel better. Like, it couldn't have been all bad. So
in those moments, do you ever feel like do you feel as though you like put blame on your mom in any way?
Sometimes, sometimes, like I've tatered and totted like, well, do I want to be mad at her? I can't. I love my mom more than anything. I think she is a beautiful woman, and my mom has such a sad life, so to speak. And I think that, the kind of person I am is that I always want to understand people better. I don't really want to cast judgment. I really want to understand what's going on, because the idea of a parent being a superhero or being these invincible creatures that can do no wrong. Yeah. I let that idea go a long time ago. I really looked at my mom like, you're like me. Like if I had a daughter or something, like you figured it out just like everybody else. And you didn't make all the right choices and whatever. So you're here now. This is what I have. So let's talk about it. Let me understand. The one thing that I can also appreciate about my mom is that even at my earliest memory, I think it's 5, but my mom has always been honest about her addiction. She would do it right in front of me. Not saying, you shouldn't do that. But my mom would be like, hey, mommy is sick. mommy is sick
Yeah.
and, she's trying to get better, or, hey, I'm going to go to treatment, and this is where I'm going to be doing, or, hey, I'm not doing so great. And I would feel like I understood. I felt like, okay, my mom is sick right now. And when she gets better, she's going to be like this, so I felt like that vulnerability and that transparency has always kind of trickled into our relationship, even as an adult. So
yeah. And it
I didn't
definitely
blame her.
helped you mature early too. Because even the story of like, or the point in your story where you say you saw a birth certificate and were able to put that together at like 11 years old, like most kids are not even going to put that together and be like, wait a minute, those names don't match. You know what I mean? So like you definitely are like super, super mature.
So,
or were mature.
So did you eventually physically meet your father? Your biological father?
Yes, I did.
How did that happen? Like, and what happened?
Yeah, so I feel like, I met him and I talked to him on April. His birthday was coming up in July. And so he was like, I want you to come to Chicago in July and I want to meet you. And I'm like, of course. Like, So
No, I'm listening.
What'd you say? Oh yeah. So yeah, we booked the flight. I went with my sister that I met in Atlanta, and he had like this whole he had made a flyer like welcome Breonna to the family or whatever, and he had this whole little event thing for me, and you could tell that he really he was like, wow, like, I got a whole another daughter, everyone was like, oh, she looked just like you. And I got those comments I've been waiting for, like, you look just like him and y'all look just like
that you never got before.
But yeah, like, I never got to have that. So I'm like, dang, like it feels so good to feel like I belong to something, or I look like something, or I can relate to something. Like those are things that like you don't realize how important those comments are until you don't get them, and then until you do get them and you're like, dang, I'm so happy that I feel like I belong to something. So that was a great feeling to have, and I was really grateful to hug him, and and he loved me. Like, he loved me right away, and that's something that he should do, but he didn't have to.
Yeah.
He didn't have to take ownership or accountability for his shortcomings. He didn't have to embrace me the way that he did, but he decided to, and that's something that I'm very grateful for. So it was a great time.
Man, it's such a blessing that he turned out to be such a good person too.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was
amazing
for you.
So
exactly.
So throughout your life, you're basically saying in so many words that little instance was something you never had a chance to experience, that feeling of belonging to someone who is so recognizable to you?
No, like I said, I'm very, very, very close to my mom. So even though we didn't look just alike, my mom, I mean, the love she had for me, she clinged to me. Like, I've always been a mommy's girl. So if I didn't belong to anyone else, I knew I belonged with my mom for sure.
Did your mom? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, did your mom come with you?
She didn't.
She didn't.
Yeah, because he's married, and I guess I don't know. They're both kind of like weird. No, they're not weird about it, but
I want to just dig into that a little bit more, right? Like, because that dynamic is obviously there's something there, right? Like, I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's something there that, like, I almost feel like if you were to ask your dad, not your biological dad, your the dad that raised you, some questions, you might get some answers about some other things that are deeper into the story. You know what I mean?
So wait, so I got two things to dig into here. First thing is, you said you have siblings.
Mm-hmm.
3 others, right?
On my mom's side, yeah.
On your mom's side, 3 other siblings. Do all of them know who their father is?
The one right before me does not know, but the youngest and the oldest know.
The youngest and the oldest know, and they met. They're obviously
Yeah, they're active. I mean, like I said, my youngest, me and my brother grew up with him, and then Brittany, her and my other sister, she grew up with her dad.
So the one that doesn't know who their father is, are they at all inspired by your journey to find your real father?
Unfortunately, I don't talk to her, so I don't know. I don't know if she's inspired or not. I'm sure she probably saw it, but probably. me and her would talk about it when we were speaking. We would talk a lot about, that emptiness that we felt and, wanting to know. And I remember when I told her about the ancestors, she was really supportive of it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, but
so
everyone else is inspired.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
So this brings me to my next question, right? So what was it like telling your mom that you found your biological father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And walk me through the decisions you made about telling your non-biological father about.
Yeah, how did you get to that point where you decided, I'm just not going to tell him this, especially since everything went so well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I told my mom, she cried, obviously, and she was just like, I'm so happy for you. And she, she always wanted that for me. My mom's heart is gold. She did those things to protect me. And she was just like, it makes her feel validated because she was on drugs, and no one takes drug users, especially crack users, seriously.
Right.
And she was just like, I knew it, like I knew that's who your dad was. And, I felt crazy, and he's like, and for him to remember all these things, it really validates me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel that I wasn't insane and I knew what I was talking about. And I was like, yeah, girl, you did that. Like, you knew what you was talking about, girl. And, and she also told me too that, that part of her life, she blocked out. She blocked that part of her life out to the point where she wouldn't remember. That's why when I would ask her, she's like, I don't remember. It was hard for her to recall a lot of the things that happened because it was so hurtful for her. And I think the hurt she didn't want me to feel, she just was like, we just don't forget about it. And she just kind of kept it moving. Yeah. So, it was a great feeling for her too. And she was just, amazed. My auntie,
has your dad, have you spoken to your dad about your mom at all? Like asked him
my biological
questions?
Dad? Yeah. A little bit, more or less just about when they met and like what that was all about. Mm-hmm. And he kind of gave me his take on what happened. But it really was like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, but it was just like a little fling that happened for a month or so, a couple months maybe. I don't know. They both thought each other was really, really attractive. They was doing whatever they was doing. And, back then the phones and all that stuff wasn't as popular. So they lost, it was very easy to lose contact. And so, that's in it. So it's not really much to say outside of that. I mean, they'll flirt a little bit here and they're like, oh, well, who knows? If I kept in contact, we'd probably be married now, little stuff like that. Jokes.
But that's good though, because it's not toxic. You know what I mean? It's
exactly. Really it wasn't toxic. Right. Awesome. No love lost. Yeah.
What's interesting is how your search and discovery of who your father was also validated your mom.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your journey was done with your mom on your back in a way.
Yeah. That's a great point.
You see what I mean? I think that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So you are very much so in a good relationship with your non-biological father who raised you, who doesn't know you found your real father, right? And your father your biological father is in agreement to not communicate with your non-biological father and keep that secret as well?
Well, he doesn't know him. They don't know.
I don't know if he necessarily,
But I know, but I
don't know if he necessarily agrees.
Yeah. But does he know you're not
something we talk about?
But if you did talk to him about it, you think he would be understanding of you not telling the person who raised you?
I don't know. I don't really know if I care if he agrees with it or not, if I'm being honest.
Here's where you might care. Are you in a relationship?
Yeah, ish.
Okay. Ish, whatever the case may be. Right? Do you have any aspirations of getting married?
Yeah.
Okay. You get married. Who walks you down the aisle?
That's a great question.
I guess look.
So you're gonna have to tell. You're gonna have to tell.
Well, you want to know.
You're gonna have to. Your dad that raised you. Yeah.
I want to hear.
That's such a good question. That's probably your best question ever.
Here's the thing. I hope that my dad is alive by the time that I get married. But I already, in my mind, before I met my biological father, decided that my brother would be the person to walk me down the aisle, because in my head, I'm trying to prepare for the fact that my dad may not be there, right? I hope he is. But if he isn't, because my dad is bedridden right now, he wouldn't be able to walk me down the aisle anyway. You know, so I don't even know if he would be able to, at this point, if I got married next month, I don't even know if he would be able to be there.
Okay.
So yeah, so I don't know. But if I was in that situation, right, where he was able, I would have to tell him, you know, maybe, and you know, honestly speaking, if my dad was younger, I think I would. But the way my dad is always like, oh, you're my baby girl, you're my little girl, and you know, I love you so much. I'm so, he worries about us so much, and I don't know if that would break his heart. I don't, you know, I feel like when you're at a certain age, things like that can really break your heart, honestly, because I think 100%. He really, you know, was just like, this is my baby girl, this is my daughter, like I love her with everything that I have. I gave her everything that I have, and for you to say, oh well, I have another dad, like I found him, you know, and it's like, oh, okay, well, how do you feel about me? Do you love me? And again, I'm not saying he would respond that way, but what if he did? You know, because I don't know. So I just, you know, I immediately made the decision that I wasn't going to say anything. But that's why I told my siblings, because I don't even know if I would have told them, but I posted it on social media. So I'm like, well, let me go ahead. And if you see this, do not tell him. Okay, we're going to keep this between us. And I made everyone swear to secret. Everyone, do not say anything.
The context makes sense.
And I'm not saying that I'll never in my life share it with him, but this is a lot, y'all. Like, it's a lot for me to process. And I don't know where I'm at in that, honestly. I don't know how much I've processed of what's happened. It's happened so fast from April to now. And it's just a lot of information. And I feel like I want to be emotionally secure and processed before I just started going into that whole thing with him. I want to feel more comfortable with my relationship with my biological dad, because what if, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel. So I think I'm just being very safe and just wanting to do it in my own time, and when I feel really, really comfortable with everything that's happened in the last couple months.
So which is the way it should be.
So let me ask you this question in closing, right? Like, what happens now? Right? You met your biological father. What are your plans, and what's your mindset moving forward with this newfound person that's been related to you all your life, but you just met?
You know, you just move forward. You know, that's it. Everything in life is about intention, being very intentional. And, you know, we don't have to have a relationship. You know, everything that we do moving forward is really based on the effort that we both put into it, and it's whatever we want it to be. We got to build that relationship. We have to build that, you know, father-daughter relationship. We have to want that relationship, and you know, and recognize it as something that isn't disposable. What I've realized, even growing up with not all of my siblings, it's very easy to say, well, I don't need you. I've spent X amount of years without you. I can do X amount of years more without you. And that is something that, you know, you will say very freely, you know, when someone does something that you don't understand or don't like. So I'm just, you know, taking it a day at a time. I'm trying to be very intentional. I can be better. But yeah, I just want to get to know who he is. I want to visit him as much as I can. We're planning to do Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving together. So those are
awesome.
Fun things.
That's a newfound journey, a new phase of your life. That's good.
So incredible.
Yeah.
The whole story. So what would you say to people who might be in your same shoes, or maybe not the exact same shoes, but where there's a situation
that's a specific shoe
this
size.
Shoe is like, you got like
this is the Cinderella
16
slipper
and a half. You can't even get them at the store.
You know what I mean?
What would you say to people who are, you know, maybe thinking about trying to reconnect with somebody who's lost, right? You know, in terms of like being potentially being a relative or whatever it is. What would you recommend?
You know, I would recommend to keep your heart open. You know, remember that we are just people. Everyone is just a person going through this human experience, and, you know, people are not perfect. So I would keep the expectation low. That is my own opinion. And just keep your heart open and be patient. And it's what you make it. You know, anything is possible, and you just gotta believe it. You gotta, believe it with intention, with prayer, and it'll happen for you. And if it doesn't, I feel like you gotta be okay with both. I was okay with both results, whether I met them or not, whether I was good or not. I made peace with both. So make peace with yourself, make peace with, what you may or may not discover, and just be grateful, for the journey, and just, be present in that journey, and enjoy it.
And I would imagine you would also say, use the tools, ancestry.com.
Yes, use Ancestry. It works, y'all. It is not a scam, because I definitely was like, girl, it does not work. It's a scam. But yeah, that was a great plug-in. Yeah, definitely use Ancestry. I think that it's a great tool. It definitely works. It may take you a minute, but do it and let it sit there, and it'll come to you. It will happen faster than you think. Trust me.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Listen, this was probably
I don't
one of the
even
best.
have. I'm almost speechless.
Yeah,
as to how good this conversation.
This is one of the best conversations I've had, just in life.
we could easily keep talking for hours.
Yeah,
I know, right? It's so much. Yeah,
and we thank you for sharing, because this is such a vulnerable time in your
God,
life.
Yeah, thank you so
much.
And
sharing it with us, and sharing it with people who can gain value from this. We can't thank you enough. Yeah. So we genuinely appreciate the time you spent in this conversation.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Yeah,
because I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people that want to connect with you just to talk about the story.
Oh yeah, yeah. Listen, my door is always open, especially to young women who are going to some young men too. But yeah, my door is open if you ever want to talk, need advice. If y'all going through a hard time in your life, like I've been there. You name it, I've probably been through it. But you can find me on Instagram at Breonna.Yvonne. That's probably the most active place to find me. Just DM me and I will be there, and we can chat.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and are you working on anything that you want people to know about right now? Obviously, you're.
Yeah, I'm doing real estate. I'm a real estate investor in Atlanta. So anybody that wants to connect in anything real estate, hit me in my DMs so that we can connect. I'm definitely interested and motivated. Investors and sellers. If anybody has a house they want to sell, let me know. So yeah, that's all that I'm doing right now.
It's amazing.
Just trying to make it.
Beautiful.
Awesome. And where can people find you, Jeff?
My name is Jeff Damisse. You guys can find me on IG or Clubhouse at j.damisse. For Twitter, it's at j_damisse. And you guys can connect with the Introspect Room, everything at the Introspect Room.
Yep, on most social media at just Introspect Room on Twitter. And I'm Michaelangelo Garland. Everybody, thank you again for tuning in. You can find me on all social media platforms at Michaelangelo.Garland. We look forward to hearing from you guys again. And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you guys
as always.
so much.
Thank
you guys.
Bye.